Today, we're going to talk about their project that earned them a spot on this year's Gold List. First of all, welcome and congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
I know this was a very special project for a special client, former Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, who is not only known for his talent on the field, but also, I mean, let's just be honest, for being one of the best dressed players in the NFL. For his home, Larry was inspired by the French countryside, as well as some other American cities. So, Mark, can you please tell me a little bit more about the inspiration for this absolutely gorgeous home?
Well, he definitely wanted a more traditional home with a little bit of a bent of cleanness and light and airiness. And there were a number of homes that really appealed to him, a couple that we also visited over in the Beverly Hills area from good friends and acquaintances that he had there. So we pulled ideas from some of these homes and then some images from homes in France or projects in France. And so it was a culmination of all these different inspirations that really helped us put this house together.
Meredith, let's talk about finishes and materials. I know the limestone was sourced from France and used on the outside and for a few interior fireplaces. And like I mentioned before, Larry is always impeccably dressed. So how did you achieve this well-tailored look on the inside that really reflects his personality?
Well, he really understood and appreciated that each space be done well, meaning it didn't need to have a ton of detail, but the detail that we did put into the house, there was a lot of thought put into the material, how it was executed. So it was all the details that were really focused on doing it well and not watered down throughout the house.
I also know that some individuals were brought in from France to actually do the limestone. Is that correct?
Well, we did source a lot from there, and then we took inspiration from the actual stonemasons from France that would put together, an old traditional stone house and how, they would stack stone to do that here, in Phoenix. So yeah, we studied a lot of that to get it right.
The labor crew itself was from Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were actually from the area.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the full inspiration was from this French countryside. I mean, it's gorgeous and it really does reflect that.
Yeah, exactly. And what we did to really accomplish that was we created a lot of sample walls and spent quite a few days, if not weeks, if not maybe months, just laying up the stone in different ways to really replicate and embrace the way it was done in France. So it took a lot of dialing in to get it to the point where everyone was satisfied with the outcome.
Absolutely. And the views surrounding this home are incredible. So Mark, how did you go about maximizing them in every direction?
Well, that again was a team effort, as everything on this project. And what was interesting about this particular site is the backyard faces the best view, and that you have to approach the backyard from the front. So we had to basically turn the house around. So when you come off the street, you have to venture all the way around to the front side of the house, which is in essence the back. But then when you go out the back, the incredible view is there. Which accomplished a couple things. It gave you this little journey from the road to the front of the house that in essence almost makes you escape Arizona and you feel like you've transformed yourself into France. And then after that, it was just a matter of placing the house properly so that it really took full advantage of that view. And we spent a lot of time staking it, walking each space, holding up story poles to replicate where we thought the windows would be, recording that information, and then putting that all into the design. And frankly, Meredith and the team absolutely nailed it.
Really taking all those steps takes time. And I know one of the greatest luxuries in life is time. So Meredith, when it came to completing this project, there really wasn't a hard deadline. And that's why you were able to build those walls and really replicate all of those different designs to really see how the house was going to look. So how long did it take to complete this project from start to finish? And what were the advantages of having the no time limits in this case?
Well, I laugh because Larry would probably feel differently about that no time limit aspect of it, but he did really appreciate and understand that the process was part of the experience of the house, and allowing us to really, take the time to study everything from the views to the materials and to get it right really benefited the total outcome of the house. And I appreciate Larry enjoying the process as much as he did, because the end result really showed it.
As architects and designers, would you rather have a deadline or have it more be free form where you can take your time?
There's always a deadline, right, Meredith? I don't care what anybody says.
Is.
There's always a deadline, and the deadline is what gives us the juice and the energy. I mean, you just fire it up. It's just like filming this episode. Time is always a factor, and we just try to make the most of it and put as much creativity into that time as we possibly can.
Well, it's great that Larry was really so flexible in the whole process. So that makes for a great client, right?
Absolutely.
The best.
So, Mark, I know you've been designing homes for 40 years, and every project, it really makes an impact on where you go next. So how was this home a marquee assignment for you?
Well, obviously the client, number one. The site was absolutely one of the best on a street where we've done about 6 houses now. We've been I'm hoping that they're going to rename the street someday, but we'll see about that. But tomorrow actually is my 40th anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited that 40 years ago, tomorrow is when I went into the office for the first time as a quote unquote, architect. I wasn't quite an architect yet, but all these projects, over the course of that 40 years, they all add to your repertoire. They all add to your database, whether it's conscious or subconscious, when you're designing a home, which is just absolutely amazing how easily you draw upon all those things. And when you see something, it triggers a memory. And there's so many great memories with this particular project, not only, the client, but the site, but, the team that we had on this really made for something that is very unique.
Absolutely. When you both started out in design and architecture, did you begin your your professional careers in Arizona, or was it elsewhere?
I'll let Meredith go. She had a little more exciting journey than I did.
Well, I was born and raised here. So I grew up here, and I did start my internships here when I was in college. But then after college, I did some work in New York City and San Francisco before moving back here 9 years ago. So it's been really a great experience to come home and be able to design and build, where I grew up.
My first job was here in Arizona with George Christensen and Associates in 1982. And I haven't gotten too far from where that first job was, just a few blocks. So I'm very happy to be in Arizona. We're very fortunate now. We're doing projects all over the country and all over the world. We got a house in Jamaica and one in Cabo we're doing now. And it's a lot of fun to just see how this has all transformed over the course of that 40 years.
Yes. I was going to ask, the last 2 years have really changed the landscape of the architecture and design business. So I know now you're saying that you have projects all over the world. I wanted to know how you can tell me, how things have changed and really what's on the horizon for you both in Candelaria design.
Well, I think the biggest thing has been the technology. Obviously, we're doing this recording remotely, and it's just amazing how much ground, in essence, you can cover in a very short amount of time. In the course of a day, I can be in Jamaica virtually and Cabo. I mean, it's just crazy what can happen. And I remember when we first started 40 years ago, there wasn't a fax machine, there were no laptops. Basically, we had a phone, there were no cell phones, and everything went at a 3, 4, 5 day pace. Now it's 3 or 4 seconds sometimes. And so the communication level has obviously changed dramatically. The technology has changed dramatically. But I think what's important is that we don't lose the connection with our clients and the time that it takes to make that connection. A Zoom meeting versus an in-person design meeting are 2 totally different experiences. And so what we're trying to do is not slow the process down, in essence, because everyone wants to go fast, but make the time really special for our clients. They're getting to create a house. I mean, how many people in this world get the opportunity to create a house? And so what we try to do is tell them to savor the journey. We do these tours to Italy and Spain. It's the same thing. It's like, take the time to really enjoy every moment of what you're creating here. So despite all the technology and all these great tricks and joys, we still like to draw by hand. We still like to have clients come into our kitchen here at the office. We have a full-blown gourmet kitchen, and we have dinners, and that whole thing is part of the experience that we try to give our clients.
It is really exciting that we're starting to work more nationally. And I mean, and to have that opportunity, we've got some really exciting projects going on. But over the last 2 years, Arizona has boomed. And so it's really, we're focusing still into our community here and, you know, being a part of our growth. It's very exciting and, you know, staying involved there. So there's a lot that's happening close by, and then also, you know, across the country that we're really getting excited about.
My last question really has to do with the design aesthetic in Arizona. Since this, you know, design and building boom has taken place in the past 2 years, do you notice the aesthetic changing at all, or is anything morphing into something that it wasn't before?
Well, I'll go first on this one. Over the course of those 40 years, I've seen a lot of morphing. Let's just put it that way. Okay. And it's fun. I mean, it's always changing. It's a dynamic situation that as architects, we're lucky that it does constantly change, but you have to be very aware of where it's changing and how it's changing. And what we're seeing is that, you know, with the whole pandemic and everything, people really rediscovered their homes. And I think, you know, there's this tendency now for people to want richness and detail and a lot more, whether it's contemporary or whether it's traditional. They want warmth, they want beautiful materials, they want craftsmanship, they want something that's going to set their home apart and really resonate with their personality and how they want to live. So I don't think it has to do with the style. The style can be whatever it is. In Arizona, we've done French, as you see here. We've done ultra modern, contemporary, but what we try to do is instill richness, detail, character, warmth, all those things that when you're in a home feel fantastic.
They're absolutely also important. I agree.
Yeah.
Meredith, would you like to add anything?
Well, I think Mark nailed it, but we're also seeing a trend in more of like family compounds. I think people have really focused on their homes over the last 2 years, but then also the importance of being close to family. So we're creating a lot of suites that are attached to the house for parents and kids, and just thinking more of, you know, let's hope that we don't have to go through this again, but if we do, that you can have your family close by in those times.
Absolutely. I agree. A lot of accessory dwelling units and
yeah.
Well, Mark and Meredith, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in as we celebrate our 2022 honorees.